Welcome to WeConnect, and thank you very much for joining us on this program. My guest today can best be called a very talented achiever. Rebecca Taylor has flown in all the way from Bangalore to be with us on this program. Now, she's extremely interested in art, in painting and sculpture, but her very special emphasis is on caricature drawing, and I think that's extremely interesting. We're going to talk to her about it. We've never really had a cartoonist on our show. Rebecca, thank you so much for coming all the way from Bangalore to be with us on this program.
Pleasure.
Now, I think you seem to have this abiding interest in caricatures, and I'm just wondering what facet of your personality is that? I mean, does it take up all of your painting skills?
Well, it does, because caricatures in itself is an art. I mean, when you talk about portraits, portraits is looking at an exact and finding the exactness on canvas, whereas in caricature, you need to get the exactness, it needs to be recognizable, as well as you need to distort it, which is an art in itself. So that's what fascinates me, because to me that comes naturally.
Right. Now, when you're drawing somebody as a caricature, they kind of sometimes look funny by the sheer nature of what a caricature is.
Absolutely.
I'm just curious, how do famous people take to being caricatured?
Well, I think it depends on how you really portray them, because caricatures in itself, it could be vindictive, it could be offensive, and it could have a side to humor as well. So I try to stick to the humorous bit of it, and when I work with my caricatures, what I really do is I try to push in a more humor element into it. So the minute someone looks at their face, they giggle, and I think that makes my day.
Right. Now, you, of course, are an award-winning caricaturist, and I'm going to draw you out and ask you a little about that competition that you took part in, and you did so very well.
Well, initially, to be honest, I trained as an artist, and I have a formal training in painting and sculpture and fine art. But caricature is something that I wasn't very unfamiliar with, and it was just something I tried. And it was a Dr. Manmohan Singh caricature competition. It was an international competition, and that was the first time I actually heard about caricaturing and things like that. So, which is why I did that particular piece on oil on canvas, and to take portraits, which I had a formal training in, and to distort it was really a task, because I was so used to, I was trained rather to put it in a particular manner, and to distort it on my own was rather difficult. But after that point in time, when I won the jury appreciation, and I ranked 20 in that particular competition, I went on to the Maya Kamath Memorial Awards,
Yes.
which I
you won that, and
Yes,
that's a national award,
Absolutely.
and it's looked on in art circles with a lot of respect.
Absolutely, because Maya Kamath was the only recognized, forgive me if I'm wrong, but she was the only recognized political cartoonist, and she was a woman. And in this particular field, it's rather male-dominated. You have a lot of male artists who are in the field, like Mario Miranda, and people who've done our country proud. So Maya Kamath was one of those artists who actually put caricatures, and she had a woman's perspective to it. She had a very feminine touch to her cartoons, which
Right.
was
So do you believe that you, Rebecca Taylor, have the same touch?
Well, I try to bring in as much as individuality as I can in my work. I like people to look at my work and find a little bit of me in it. So that's
Right. Now, we do have some of your caricatures which we'll be showing during our program, during the course of the show. But when you did Manmohan Singh, I mean, did you ever think that, wow, what if the Prime Minister gets mad at me? Or what if, I mean, would you consider doing politicians?
Well, if I'm commissioned to do so, yes, but I don't really reckon with politicians, because for one, politics is politics. Let's be politically correct about that statement. But in terms of caricaturing, I like to do more on social issues, like sports people, personalities that actually bring laurels to our country, and people who actually make us proud. And I like to enhance their features, make them known, have the public giggle at them, and things like that through my work. So yes.
Right. But I'm just wondering, how do people actually take to this? I'm going to ask you this again, because if you suddenly, for instance, draw somebody very well known and draw a Pinocchio nose on them, I mean, I can't imagine. You do really need to have a terrific sense of humor, you as the person who draws it and the person who's being depicted.
Which is true, because in caricatures you can't really exaggerate any feature like you feel like it. I mean, you still have to retain the individual being recognized. So there are certain aspects in which you can exaggerate and certain which you can't. Like say for example, if someone has a large nose and you make it really tiny, well, you still need to recognize the individual, and that itself is an art. So when you talk about people taking to it, I think when you look at your face and you recognize yourself and then you see a funny element to it, I think you only get humor out of it and nothing else.
Really? Okay. Now, I do know that last month you actually put out this book, you know, which is about hockey players and about all of hockey. So I was just wondering what made you actually get down to doing this, because it's a very beautifully produced book.
Well, it is. In fact, the book Tailored for Hockey is something that I plan to work on rather quickly, because all 22 caricatures were done in a span of 2 days, and it was,
very fast.
Working round the clock. But one of the fascinating things about this book is that the caricatures, like if you just look at any one of them, for example, you know, they're very rigid. You know, you have blatant strokes, quick lines, and things like that. And I think it also it also depicts the kind of field that these people have been, playing hockey ever since they were children, the kind of effort they had to put in. And I think through art, it's a freedom of expression, and
right.
you sort of get that kind of emotion out.
Right. But a very quick question. Now, if you are, say for instance, you're drawing a Sinclair, you're drawing an Adam Sinclair. Now, would you actually have him sitting there? Will you take a photograph of his and draw it from there? Or would you rather have him sitting there actually drawing?
Well, it would be a pleasure to actually have the person in front of me, but you don't really have that privilege all the time. And in case with this book, these are people from the 1928 and onwards. And
yes.
At that point in time, you don't really have the privilege of having these people in front of you. So you just have to do with photographs. But what I usually do is I take a couple of photographs. Mm-hmm. So I don't get one particular angle. I get 2-3 different angles, and then I try and form my own version of the person.
Right. So far, have you ever had anybody get really mad at you?
I don't think so. Thank God for that.
Or maybe they can't contact you.
Well, that's a good thing too.
Right. Now, this focus on sports persons, are you just basically interested in sports, or is it just that you like to draw people and that's an area that you've gone into?
Well, it's an area untapped, let's say, by the art fraternity. You have artists and caricaturists cover politicians, you have cartoons on social issues, awareness issues, but sports, you rarely see sports caricatures.
That's true.
They are popular, but not as popular as the political. And the thing about cartooning in our country is that the minute that you say you're a cartoonist or a caricaturist, they link you instantly with being a political cartoonist. So,
that's true.
You're into politics, you read the newspapers every day, and it's something like that. But with my work, I try to bring out a message, and my message in terms of sports is that if you look at a sports person, ever since they're a child, they go in for practices from the wee hours in the morning at 5 and 6. And, it takes so much of courage, hard work to get to the Olympic level. And that, for me, is inspiring.
Right. So on that note, I'm going to ask you to hang on for a very short while. We'll take a very short break here and reconnect, and then we'll get right back with you. So please don't go anywhere.